Jobs aren't always as straightforward as booking a time, attending the site, doing the work, then taking payment. Sometimes jobs are delayed, put on hold, or require some sort of action before they can be scheduled for the work to be done. There are also quotes that need to be prepared and sent quotes that need to be followed up. So it's important to understand how to manage jobs in ServiceM8 in these different scenarios. The solution is to use a queue. Think of queues like folders on your desk. Jobs can be parked in queues designed for common scenarios in your business, like when you're waiting for the client to accept your quote, waiting for the site to be ready, or when you need to order parts to finish the job. They're customizable. Queues are ultimately about helping jobs progress to completion. The goal of any queue, whether it's pending quotes or for work orders on hold for some reason, should be to get the job to the point where it can be scheduled for the work to be done on site. If it's scheduled, it can then be completed and you can get paid. To view jobs in a queue online, in the dispatch board, click on the queue's name to filter the jobs list. Click on the queues folder, or use the queue board to get an overview of all jobs in all queues. In the app, swipe left in the Jobs tab to find all your queues here and tap in. To place a job in one of your queues, drag and drop it from the jobs list onto the queues folder, or onto the queue in the queue board. You can also drag and drop jobs here from one queue to another. Keep in mind a job can only be in one queue at a time. If you're already working in the job card, you can send it to a queue here. In the app, you can send a job to a queue through the job action bar. Tap here, then Send Job to Queue. Further, when you check out of a job and it's not complete, you have the option to schedule another visit or send the job to a queue. More on this later. A job will leave a queue automatically when it expires. You can set an expiry timeframe for each one of your queues, being the default time a job will stay in that queue. When the job expires, it will arrive in your action required list, showing as expired. This means it's due for review and you should either schedule the job, re-queue it, or update it to completed or unsuccessful. A job will also leave a queue when it's sent to another queue. A job can only be in one queue at a time. A job will leave a queue if you manually remove it. You can do this online by right-clicking it in the jobs list or from the queue board, and it will appear in action required. And importantly, a job will leave a queue if you schedule it. Keep in mind that a core purpose of queues is for managing jobs in situations which prevent them from being scheduled and the work done. So when you schedule a queued job, it should mean that the reason it was in that queue has been satisfied, so it will automatically exit that queue when scheduled. Also note that for similar reasons, completed and unsuccessful jobs cannot be sent to a queue, since the work's been done already or the job's not going ahead. Queues are customizable to suit your business and workflows. Go to Settings, then Job Queues, where you can edit or remove existing queues or create new ones. Try to keep your queues to a minimum. Keep the queue's name short and its purpose obvious. The name of a queue should be enough context for other staff to know why a job is in that queue. For example, a queue named Order Parts obviously means that jobs placed in this queue require parts to be ordered before they can proceed. If more detail is needed, like the specific parts required, you can add job notes or create individual tasks against the job. Here, you can set the default timeframe a job will stay in that queue before expiring. You have the option to edit this on a case-by-case basis when queuing a job online. Here, you set the queue type. A queue can either be for jobs on hold, represented by a blue folder, or for jobs requiring action, which have an orange folder. Set a new queue as for jobs on hold when the reason jobs will be put in this queue is because they're on hold or waiting for something to happen before they can be scheduled for a visit and the work on site. This could be good for quotes you've sent and are awaiting acceptance, and scenarios like when you're waiting on the client, waiting for parts to arrive, or waiting for the site to be ready. So on a day-to-day basis, you'd send a job to one of these hold queues with an expiry timeframe of a week or however long. And when the job expires from that queue, it's due for follow-up. Queues for jobs requiring action are different. Set a new queue as for jobs requiring action when the job requires some kind of off-site task or work before it can be scheduled for a visit and work on-site. Because this type of queue is for managing jobs which need something done, you can assign the job to a team member when you queue it, so they're responsible for actioning it. This helps with accountability and keeps the job moving forward. This type of queue is good for scenarios like when a quote needs to be prepared, the job requires some manufacturing done in your workshop, or the client needs to be contacted. So on a day-to-day basis, you'd send a job to one of these action queues, probably with a short expiry timeframe, and assign it to a team member. If it's for action the same day, they'll be notified that they've been assigned that queued job. When viewing jobs in an action queue, you can see at a glance which staff member the job is assigned to while in that queue. If it's assigned to you, it will appear in your For My Review list, both online and in the app. You can also find these queued jobs assigned to you for action in your Today list and My Queued Jobs. Queues are a powerful tool to help technicians manage jobs on site, especially for quotes and work orders which can't be finished on the same visit for some reason. When it comes to visiting a site to provide a quote, if you're ready to send it on the spot, you can check out, tap Ready to Quote, and at the end, send the job to something like a Pending Quotes hold queue before sending it by email and SMS. This parks the job in a queue while the quote's with the client, and you can follow it up when it expires. If you're not ready to quote on site, you can tap Not Ready and instead send the job to something like a Jobs to Quote action queue, assigned to yourself or whoever is responsible for preparing quotes. For work orders, when you check out of an incomplete job on site, you have the option to reschedule, or if there's something stopping you from rescheduling, you can send the job to a queue. For example, if a technician attends a job and discovers special parts are required before the job can be done, you can systemize this common scenario if you have a queue for jobs that need parts to be ordered. They can save notes and photos of the parts required, check out, and send the job to a Order Parts action queue, assigned to whoever is responsible for ordering parts. Once the parts are ordered, they can then send the job to wait in a Waiting on Parts hold queue. Being able to queue a job on checkout systemizes workflows and efficiently communicates visit outcomes between field technicians and office staff, helping jobs run smoother and get completed faster. When you create queues, keep in mind what they're for. They're a way to neatly park jobs while they're on hold for a common reason or require a common task to be done before they can be scheduled. We don't recommend creating queues for individual clients, creating one-off queues for a single job, or using queues to track specific stages your jobs might move through, as they're not designed for these use cases and it will just cause headaches. So now that you know about queues, have a think about how they could help your business. Consider your quoting workflow and your popular types of jobs, and the most common reasons they get held up and prevented from being scheduled. Start small with a few queues to handle your most common scenarios and tasks that you deal with on a day-to-day basis, the ones that pop up in the office and on site which prevent jobs from being scheduled.